It always takes so
already
long to go live, and then it takes so long to like stop the live.
Okay, I think we're live. Hey everybody. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
We'll just give everyone a minute, and then we'll do our introductions.
Yeah.
Introductions we will. You guys, you want to see what I'm eating? I'm eating my sister's
Yes. What are
cheesecake
you
because
having for breakfast?
it was her birthday
Morning.
yesterday. I'm having a cheesecake and coffee because you know when you're tired you indulge. What are you drinking, my dear?
Me? Just water.
I had empty water. Well, actually, it just has ice in it. But
Okay, have you guys had a cold buster or a medicine ball from Starbucks?
I thought a medicine ball was something I exercise with. I don't know what a drink version of a medicine ball is.
A medicine ball is what put me in labor.
Okay.
I do not know what a medicine ball is.
Well, it was steamed lemonade with 2 kinds of teas. So it's Peach Tranquility and Mint Majesty. And then it has, well, of course, water. And then honey. It's very good.
That sounds so sophisticated. No wonder I never heard of it. Like, I am the embodiment of white trash, so that drink is not something I've ever heard of.
Right?
Yeah.
I sugar cookies the other night, and I had sugar cookies for breakfast with coffee, like for 3 days straight. So
That's
amazing. That is so delicious. What is it like? Cold where you guys are? Like, is it snowing? Is it snowing in any of your guys' areas?
No.
Yeah, Savannah.
Last year we had a ton of snow. We had like a foot of snow at Christmas time last year, and now we have nothing. But I think it's probably around like 40 degrees or like 44 or something. It might even be a little bit colder than that. My little temperature thing stopped working.
Can I just say how I love that Savannah read No Exit recently, which is like set in the blizzard snow, and you're staying now in a snowy place in someone's attic. How does that feel?
I was so excited, you guys. Like, I was just living my best life. I was reading in the little window, and I was like looking outside. I was like, no, and there's because I'm usually in Texas, and I just can't stand Texas weather. It's so hot.
It doesn't snow there, does it?
No.
I'm sorry. For anyone who doesn't know me and the people watching, I'm not American, so I don't know where it snows.
Introduce yourself. I'll let you introduce yourself first, since Deja's probably the first one, but she's always first.
I'm always first because I always come in first.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is McKay. I am the face of McKay's Book Club. I am your local bookworm twink supreme. And on my channel, I do a bunch of things. I review horror books. I review thriller books. I do the wrap-ups. I try to do the vlogs, but I fail at doing the vlogs. I'm not a good book vlogger. Oh, my goodness. You know what? I did this thing. Like, I made a video saying that I was going to do this project where I vlogged books, and that just never happened because, Anywho, so that's me. And I sometimes do book commentaries. Like, I'll do a long form video on a specific book if it inspires me. As a matter of fact, my most known video is a book analysis on this book called I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. And that was really fun. I also have several ones on the book Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Basterica. And then I have one on Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. And I hope to do more. So that is moi.
Want to read Tender is the Flesh so bad.
And you should, because it is a masterpiece. Like, I put the word parentheses, it's a masterpiece on the title of my video, because it just blew me away completely in ways that I did not expect, and it was fabulous.
I thought initially people would think I was so weird for wanting to read it, and then all these people are reading it and loving it, and I'm like, see, I'm not that weird for wanting to read it to begin with.
Not at all. I mean, maybe we're all just weird, which is why we're on BookTube. Just kidding.
Right.
Especially on the horror thriller side, it's just like, you know.
That's the fun side.
Yeah, it's
Excuse you.
I love it. No, I just think it's all weird, but in the best of ways. Like, I don't know.
Well, especially
I completely
the horror
agree.
side too, because with horror, it's just anything goes. So you gotta like anything to be a horror fan. You gotta just go with it, whatever comes your way. Savannah, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hey guys, I'm Savannah. I am riveting reads on YouTube or BookTube. And I just recently started my channel about a week ago, and I've been really loving it. I've met so many cool people. I love thrillers, and I'm getting really into horror books now. And yeah, I'm just living my life on BookTube. I don't know what else to say.
I love it. Love to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, my channel is Deja's Book World, and I read actually this year I think I've read mostly romance and fantasy, and I think I've actually read more horror than thrillers this year, which I didn't expect because I like thrillers more than horror, but I think it's because of Stacks of Strange, honestly, that's why. But unlike McKay, I'm kind of like no thoughts, head empty. So I think my video is funny to make up for my lack of being able to describe books. And then I also do reading sprints, which is kind of, I feel like, why a lot of people go to my channel is for live reading sprints because I do them for like 6 hours straight.
I love
it. It's so much fun. I love doing the reading sprints. But yeah, that's really what I do, is just talk about those and do reading sprints on my channel.
I just love that randomly I'll go on YouTube and then you're like doing a reading sprint and I'm like, yes, I could read.
Next week I want to do a lot, and the week after because I don't have school. So I try to do them on Saturdays, but I'm going to probably do them more sporadic throughout the week too, just because I can.
Yeah, for sure. So what did you guys, and let us know down in the comments too. I wanted to let you guys know, we won't get into like spoilery details until a little bit later. I'll just let you guys know before we get into that, but we will give like general thoughts and our ratings. So why don't you guys in the comment section, if you read the book, give us your ratings as well. Deja, what did you rate the book?
I haven't rated it yet. I think it's going to be 4 stars. I always wait till after live shows to rate books now. I don't know, but I think it's going to be 4 stars just because like I liked it. It was just long, and I think I'm realizing that like haunted houses and things like that are not really like my favorite type of horror thriller. Like I think it just doesn't scare me as much as like real people, because like that's like can actually happen.
Yeah.
So I think I wasn't like scared. Like it was just gory, which I did like. But yeah, I just gave it, I think I'm going to give it 4 stars.
Okay. McKay, how did you feel?
I gave the book 3 stars. And I gave the book 3 stars because it started off very, very well. But towards the second act, it just started losing me. And then in the third act, oh my gosh, you got to be on board or you are going to just... Ugh. But with that being said, and I do have some spoiler-free thoughts, I loved the characters. That's a huge thing. And I love them because they all managed to be purposeful archetypes. Like these people reminded me of, and I'm gonna get into this in the spoiler when we get into spoilers, because I want to discuss with you guys which authors these characters reminded you of, because each one reminded me of a specific horror author that I like.
That's a great one. I would love to.
Yes, I cannot wait to get into that with you guys. So these people are purposeful archetypes, meaning like they remind us of authors that we know, but purposefully so, because, you know, these comparisons show you why these genre conventions are so effective and why they are still being used today. Mm-hmm. And I love how in presenting them, the author, what's his name? Oh my goodness, the author. Scott Thomas. Yeah, Scott Thomas. Sorry, it's a common name. So he manages to be both very affectionate to them and yet pay an homage to the conventions of the genre with this book. And I mean, convention-wise, they do end up going to a cabin in the woods, which happens a lot. But like this is like a backwoods cabin, so the context is very different. Normally, it's like in a very brushy, gloomy forest, but the cabin is like a house, and the woods is like Kansas, right?
Right.
So, you know, the culture there and the context is very different, and the whole set of scares is like very new. And I don't know if you remember Sam's lecture from the beginning of the book, but that foreshadowing is just like so good, because, you know, when he gives that lecture at the beginning, when he gives that lecture to his students at the beginning of the book, where, you know, he talks about the steps of how a horror happens, like it has to be in one concentrated area, and then there's like a destruction of innocence, and then that's like literally how the book goes, and it was so good.
I love the way that's written. I love that.
I know, me too. So ultimately, like the idea of self-awareness and the tropes of horror movies is taken to the next level, and seeing it seeing how Scott Thomas was able to ride the story to its logical conclusion in a way that just went completely wild and bonkers in the end is something that I truly appreciated. But my enjoyment was hampered by, one, the very long and unnecessary second act. Like, when, I'm not going to say what happens, but the first act ends in a very good way, but then the second act and the beginning of the third act just like go on forever. and yeah, I could have chopped out that whole middle part and it would have made no difference to me, because it just, I don't know, I don't feel like it should have been there. So 3 stars, that's moi. And yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I kind of felt a lot of the same way, especially with the like second act.
Yeah.
Savannah, what?
So I was reading this on a road trip. So I was listening to the audiobook and I was going through Kansas. And I was like, this is actually amazing. So I was going through Kansas. But something I noticed about the audiobook, I'm struggling to know if I would have rated it a little higher if I was like physically reading it, because when there were like intense parts, and you know, in the book where sometimes, I'm not spoiling anything, but like he's mimicking someone screaming or something, and what they're saying, like on the audiobook, it sounded a little goofy to me.
Oh.
You know, it took a little away.
Because I read some reviews about the audiobook and they had said that they really enjoyed the audiobook. So that was something I was going to ask.
I liked it a lot, except in a few of those intense parts where he made like voices that were like screaming or saying creepy things. And for me, it just took away from it. Like I loved it when it was just like,
you guys know what was a good audiobook? Did any of you listen to the audiobook of The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty?
I did.
Because what Savannah is complaining about now, and I'm assuming it's the voice acting, I'm assuming it's like when he was like yelling the scary scenes. So William Peter Blatty, the author of The Exorcist, he narrated his own audiobook. And when he does the voice of someone who is possessed by the devil, it is so goosebumps inducing.
That is funny because this week I listened to Ring Shout by P. Shirley Clark, and that audiobook is so fantastic. That voice actor is so good. She makes it so creepy. Like there's parts where like there's like singing, but like creepy singing, and oh my gosh, that was one thing. Like that's so funny that you would bring that up, because that's how I felt. Like that audiobook was the exact opposite. It was fantastic. Like I love the way that she would like act out the different characters and then the singing. Like it was crazy.
It could have been just me.
Yeah, I also listened to the audiobook, and to be honest, I didn't notice like at all. Like it did not bother me.
Maybe I was weird. I don't know.
I really liked it, but like the parts like that you're talking about, like I feel like obviously they didn't bother me because I don't even like remember being aware of them, if that makes sense. Like it was just a part of the story, and I didn't really it didn't jump out at me specifically.
Do you think it's because you listened to it faster than what I was listening to?
Oh, maybe.
Because I think that would affect it, because they were like very, I don't know, you just have to listen for yourself. But I did it like at 1.5 speed, and it was still like definitely, I don't know. But I really like the story. Like the last act, it was insane. I was freaked out for sure. And it was one of the most, I think, intense, like action-packed things I've ever read. So I gave it 4 stars, but I agree. I think all of you feel this way, that like a lot of it was pretty boring and it was disappointing. Like the end was so good. I feel like it could have been chopped in half and like made a short story on like creepypasta or something like that. Like, so I gave it a 4-star, but I don't know. I'm conflicted about it.
Yeah. I think it's pretty much positive for the most part. Lyric gave it 5 stars. Elizabeth gave it 4 stars. Another 4 stars. It seems like 4 stars is the majority. Really liked it overall, but I found the middle a little bit slow. And I feel that way too. I never did introduce myself. I'm terrible at this.
The host.
For being a host. But my name is Raine. My channel is Brews and Binds. I read mostly horror. But I read like thrillers, sometimes fantasy, graphic novels, manga. I love that kind of stuff. Anything fiction pretty much goes. And then nonfiction, I like true crime as well. So anything like just bloody and dark is my jam. So I'm giving it 4 stars. I always say I gave it, but like I'm probably 3 months behind on Goodreads on like rating anything, but I'm gonna give it 4 stars for sure. I did really, really enjoy it. I do think in the second act, there are just certain like specific scenes that when I think about, perhaps like if they didn't exist, they wouldn't make a difference. Like it wouldn't drive the plot, like it wouldn't make a difference in the end. They could have just been cut out. I don't think like majority of it could have been cut out. I still think that it's decent at its length, but I think maybe like just like some specific scenes could have been cut out, and I'll get more into that as we get into like spoilery stuff. But for the most part, I really, really enjoyed it. I like the way that it was written. It's very much written kind of like almost like a movie. Like I felt like it was being played out in front of me. Like I could see everything clearly happening. I loved the characters, especially more. She was like fantastic. Elizabeth thought the same thing. What does Lyra say? Oh, I can definitely see where everyone thought it was slow, but I actually love the pacing, getting suspense. Yeah, I think in the very beginning, like especially like just starting out, like I flew through the very beginning of the book. I was so into it. Oh, I think we lost McKay. It really wasn't until I truly thought that they were just going to be in the house the whole time throughout the book. So when you get to a point like middle of the way where you're like, oh, they're like leaving, then that whole chunk of time before they go back is kind of a little slower to me.
I was bummed that they left.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted them to be like stuck there or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so
I agree because sorry.
I was just going to give everyone a spoiler warning, and we might as well just get into like all of it right now at this point. I mean, we're already more than 15 minutes into it. So, so yeah, if you haven't finished the book, bow out now. And then we're going to get into some spoilery stuff because I really want to get into the only reason why I really wasn't like a huge, why I didn't give it 5 stars. I still love it. But yeah, I was expecting, like when we got to the point where they got in the house, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much book still left. So much of this book, like where is it going to go? And then they stay the one night. Like I thought the entire book was set over one night, but it's not. It's not like that at all. Yeah. And then, they leave. You're about halfway through the book and you're like, well, what's going to happen now? Like there's still so much book left. So much could happen at this
That's
point.
when it lost me because I felt like the ending of the ending of the first act was like really anticlimactic because are we getting into spoilers now?
Yes.
So the ending of the first act was so anticlimactic because nothing happens.
Yeah.
Like we're in that house and I appreciate that scene because they were able to amp up the drama when we were like learning about their backstories, like when Wainwright was interviewing them and he was like drudging up stuff from their past and like putting them on the spot in front of everyone on this live stream and making them face their their tragic backstories, which was like a real dick move on his part. So I appreciate that scene because it was able to like flesh them out as humans better. But when that ended, it just felt so anticlimactic. I was like, okay, that's it. That's all they're doing in the house. And then for the huge, vast 100 pages after when they were like writing the same book and it was like, we had to go on each of their lives. And honestly, the only one that was interesting, they could have cut that because the only one that was interesting was Daniel because he was the one who had something legitimately bad happen to him. Like I wanted to hear about why
his grieving, like everything. He didn't have enough. There wasn't enough of that section, I think.
I completely agree.
I do like where I feel like where I love the book so much is sorry to cut you off, but like in that first act where they are introducing the characters and setting the scene and everything, that's typically something that like it does drag for me sometimes if it takes a little bit too long. But I was so into it just from that beginning. Like getting to know the characters was like, I don't know, I enjoyed that whole part of it.
I have to say something. You know the scene where it was about like the spiders and he was under the porch?
Yes.
Oh, the flashback when he was a kid and his brother.
So
that was so
ooh, the black widows.
Yeah.
I thought the tension was so good, and it just made me like connect to that character because I was
totally agree. Yeah.
I like that backstory. Like some of the backstories were really good. But
that freaked me out so much. I always had like a legit fear of black widows. So I was like, no, oh hell no.
Of all spiders, I have a fear of huntsman spiders. You know those?
Oh
we
God.
have them here. They're the huge ones.
They're so good.
I get them
huntsman
sometimes
spiders
in
here.
the summertime. I've had them in the garage. They're like.
Have you ever tried Googling yeah, they are that big. Have you ever tried Googling huntsman spider bite?
I did that last night.
Wish.
With my family.
You Googled that last night?
We were freaking out because we were talking about spiders and we were all Googling huntsman spiders. And we were like, could you imagine this being in your house? And like people get them in their houses.
I had one in my garage. Okay.
Wait, they're in America?
So I had one in my garage. I live in Southern California. I live in the high desert. So there was one in my garage and it was huge. And I was going to work and I used to work at like 4 a.m. So I saw it in my garage. I freaked out. I left. I took off, went to work. I told my husband about it that week and he was like, you're exaggerating. Like it wasn't that big. And I was like, dude,
they are that big.
Yes. And then we went out one night on a Friday. This was like a couple of years ago. Went out on a Friday night, came home. That spider was there again. And my husband was like, you were not lying. It was so big. And I was like, dude, it was so huge. And then we looked them up and then it was like, they're known to like get into your car and stuff.
Nope.
How is California?
I couldn't sleep right. Oh my gosh, I freaked out. I could not sleep right for weeks. Like it scared me.
I did not realize it was in the States. I'm so scared.
Yeah, they can have them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not presently in Australia, but when I was staying in Australia, we were staying in this Airbnb and there was a giant huntsman spider in the bedroom that I was staying in and it was on the ceiling. And I woke up at around, oh, that's so cute. I woke up at around like 8 in the morning and I was just eyeballing that thing for like a good 15 minutes. And I was just like willing it to crawl somewhere. It crawled into the closet and I got my dirty clothes and I blocked every exit in that closet so it would not be able to crawl out. Anyway.
Did you see it again?
I did not see it again and I did not check.
Oh my gosh. I would lose it. I wish I'd never Googled huntsman spider bite because it made me irrationally scared of them because those results were just like, nope.
Yeah, that scared me. I'm glad that you brought that up because I like almost forgot about it.
Yeah,
but it like really did freak me out.
Anyway, wait. So back, I just want to do one more point on the book because we were on the part where I was stressing why Daniel should have been more focused on in that second act instead of focusing on every one of them because Sam was writing a giant book and Moore was writing a giant book, and I'm so glad they cut out Sebastian because if we had to read about that, I would have been like, oh my god. But I'm willing to bet that in one of the first drafts, I'm sure there was like a giant Sebastian section, and even the editor was like, Scott, take this shit out. Anyway, so the reason I loved the Daniel scene so much was because he reminded me of the main character in the book Pet Sematary. So the book Pet Sematary, like the main character is this like well-to-do dad, like this. He's like a good dad and good stable life. And the book is about his like downward-facing spiral after like a family tragedy. And this Daniel guy was an author known for, writing. He's like religious, and he's known for having a fan base in like the faith-based community. So he's like more pure than the other ones. So watching him descend into insanity after his daughter died, and watching him like cuss out the pastor and cuss out his wife was just like the best. Like that was the best part of the second act, and I wish that it had focused on that rather than Sam, who's so bland and more. I love her, but like
a little bit short on their end, I think.
I agree. I mean, like
the
I was
biggest
more
part for me that were just like way like just shouldn't even it wouldn't have even mattered. Like they could have put those parts in there, but not made them as long as they were. Is that like it's you know their perspectives while they're writing the books, and then also when they're like going to the hardware store, like before they go back to the house, and I'm like, it doesn't even matter. I'm like that whole section wouldn't have even made a difference. They could have said we went to the hardware store, we got these tools.
Not even. Couldn't it just been like them in the car and like in the middle of the dialogue, one says, "Oh, I have a hammer from my garage" or something. Like, why do we need to watch them in the store? Or like, you know, or like or Daniel has the Bible. Why does Moore have to go buy the Bible? Like, it would make more sense for Daniel to carry the Bible around. It's like, girl, why?
I agree with you guys in those sections, but like. When I was researching the book more, I found out that Sam is actually supposed to be the main character. And so I think that's why we focused on him more. Like, it wasn't really supposed to be even. Right. It was supposed to be from Sam's perspective, like, for the most part. Right. And I don't really think that part necessarily dragged for me as much. It was just, like, what made me not like it as much is that, as McKay was saying, that it made the first act seem so, like, lackluster. I was like, okay, nothing happened. It wasn't even that it dragged necessarily, because I like seeing the characters, so that really didn't bother me. It just was like, okay, well, nothing happened, so what was really the point of the whole first act? Like, I liked it a lot, but it felt like it really led to nothing besides Daniel's daughter dying. That was it. So I was like, what was the whole point? You know, that's what kind of bothered me more, was that I was like, the whole first act kind of seemed irrelevant after they just left. Like, it seemed like it really just didn't matter.
It left so soon. And I like other people have been saying that too. Like, I thought the same thing. And I think them leaving just went too against my expectations for me to entirely enjoy that section. So like, that's kind of how I felt too. Like, it wasn't even that the second act was all that boring, but it was just like, I didn't expect them to leave the house that fast. Like, I thought they were going to be in the house majority of the time. I thought all the creepy shit was going to happen while they were in the house. Like, it was going to, like, I didn't expect them to like leave and then come back and like that just to be shorter than I don't know. I thought they would experience a little more like
activity.
I felt like they would touch on it, like when Kate thought she saw something, and like that was scary. Like, I wanted more from that. Mm-hmm. And like the found footage kind of, like, I love that. Horror movies.
Like Elizabeth said, I wanted them to be stuck in the house. Leaving broke the creepy tension. I think it did. Mm-hmm. I think it did a little bit. It kind of brings you down a little bit, and then you like it gets creepy again. Like
completely agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, when they get back.
So it's interesting that Deja brought up the fact that Sam is the main character, and I have a theory about why Sam was the main character. For those of you who were on the live early on, I mentioned that I would be giving you my theories about who these specific authors were to represent in the real life. So I think that the way Sam was described as someone who writes scary, but not that scary, not that boundary pushing, but mainstream books, I think Sam was Stephen King. Honestly, like, I think Sam is Stephen King, who is like the god of horror, which is why Scott Thomas made him the main character. Now, for the rest of them, so Daniel was described as someone who, you know, explored the dark side of humanity, but, you know, he has a huge religious fan base and sometimes explores that in his book. Dean Koontz, for sure.
Really?
Daniel is Dean Koontz, without a doubt.
Yeah. I was wondering, like, who could that represent? Because I couldn't think of anybody.
No, because, like, some people get annoyed that Dean Koontz, like, throws in, like, religious messages at the end of his books. Like, I don't mind, but
I haven't read
some people do get annoyed with that.
I have 2 of them, but I
Read Intensity. That's his best book, in my opinion. That is, like, really good.
And Velocity. Those are the 2 I have 3. I have By the Light of the Moon as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's why I think he's Dean Koontz. Now, for Sebastian, who writes, you know, these out of this world, paranormal, psychological, Lovecraft, for sure, without a doubt. And for Moore, I think I had like the hardest time with her because, you know, like I was like, what woman author writes with, you know, the juxtaposition of pain and pleasure so much? I was like, maybe it isn't the woman author. Maybe she's based on a guy. Maybe she's based, like, I was thinking Clive Barker.
I think a lot of people were relating her to Clive Barker.
Yeah, I think like I was like, okay, like I took out the fact that at first I was thinking, okay, what women horror authors are there? Anne Rice, does that count? But then I was like, okay, maybe she's like a female Clive Barker because the way she dresses, like super trendy and like she's like badass and stuff. And I don't know much about him. Like he's the one I know about. Yeah, sorry.
I've heard his books are more sexual in nature.
Yes. Like there was a lot of subtle sexual imagery in this film he did called Hellraiser. Like Hellraiser is Clive Barker's baby. So I was instantly thinking of, okay, maybe that's who that is. And Wainwright, I suppose, is just like a representative of, websites like Fangoria and stuff like that. And so, yeah, does anybody else have any comparisons? Like, did they remind you of anyone that you know?
I think you pretty much nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you totally nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just liked how it was like all different, like, subgenres within horror.
Yeah.
I found that really cool, and how they all kind of like disagreed with each other, but then they started respecting each other. I love that.
Yeah, I agree. Me too. But it's ironic because one of my complaints was actually addressed in the book. Like when Sam was being hounded by his editor, I believe, not the editor, but his friend, whose name I don't recall. But when his friend was telling him, and later on when Eli, yeah. And later on, when Wainwright brought it up, he was saying, like, maybe you don't sell enough books because there isn't enough heart in your books because you don't want to go to places emotionally because of your personal trauma. And that's what I felt with this book. It's like, yes, the knowledge of horror was very good, but structurally, it just felt so planned out. Like, okay, we're going to put the foreshadowing in the beginning, and then we're going to put character development here, and we're going to introduce the characters here. And it was just it was technically impressive, but there wasn't anything that made me emotionally latch onto it. Like, I didn't really, like, okay, his daughter died, but that's, like, been done to death. And, like, we didn't really explore it. Like, the only time we explored his relationship with the daughter was when she wanted to go to a party, and he was like, okay, who's the guy? So that kind of hints to what the relationship was. But when she died, I didn't really feel anything for him. And I didn't really feel any emotional attachment to any of them. It was just like, very...
I didn't either. I really liked Moore's character. I thought she was a badass. But at the same time, I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more of her backstory because we didn't get anything regarding her. Like, we just find out later on, like, oh, I had an abusive boyfriend. And then, like, that... like. We don't get a lot of information about that and like what exactly was going on there.
Well, if we could infer, like we had to, like, with her, like it was really difficult. It was like solving a puzzle because we would get glimpses of her backstory whenever the apparition would show up in the form of her boyfriend.
Right.
So from what I could recall, her name was Teresa. She was once very different, once very innocent. And then she got into this abusive relationship, and for one reason or another, she didn't leave. And, like, you can get into this whole thing about how people don't want to leave their abusers because of psychological whatevers and stuff. And to the point that he ruptured her, he beat her up and he damaged her eye. And it was that which caused her to be, and it was that traumatizing event which caused her to become, and now that I think about it, like what led her to become so involved with a horror genre that delves into perversion and human awfulness was like difficult to connect with her backstory. Like her backstory, like
what had to do with her trying to go above and beyond so that she could be recognized as a woman in horror. So I think she just did that intentionally. Like she wanted to just her shock factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to underscore what you're saying, like when she was in the meeting at the beginning with the producer and they were like very patronizing to her, like that really did communicate that she had to try extra to get her way in this industry that was so male dominated. But we could have had more of that because that meeting was like very short and it ended with her like putting a knife in his like fingernail. Like
it doesn't matter why she is the way she is, why she's like, extra with like she is more explicit in her writing, but then like also in person, she's just like dropping F-bombs everywhere. So it's like, she's, like I said before, just
so I think like her writing is an extension of her and who she became after this traumatizing incident, or maybe she was like this all the time, but it was that which forced her to like really come out of her shell and like show the world or take her life back into her own hands because, you know, she felt like someone's property in that relationship. And she eventually decided, like, okay, I could be this man's property, or I could finally throw my hat in the arena, show people who I am, take charge of my life. You know, these men don't get to dominate the industry. I've got stuff to say. And yeah, I loved that. I did love that aspect about her.
I just loved her attitude.
What did you
Me too.
I know this
was a mood the whole time. Everything that she said, I was like, girl, yes. Like, I was thinking that.
I know this is jumping ahead, but like the ending with her, what did you guys think of that?
At first I found it confusing, but then when I was like rereading my notes, and I actually have a Google Doc open up over here with all the notes I took from the book. Yeah, at first I was like, the ending felt like an ass pull, but then like when I was rereading my notes and I saw the part where she got hacked by the hatchet, and then she heard like a female voice in the distance saying, "Come to me, I'll take the pain away." Maybe that's when her body was possessed. Like, that's what I think.
Yeah.
She was lured in by a Finch sister. And then they established after that the Finch sisters were like witches. Or was one of them a witch? Or was both of them a witch? That I wasn't too clear on.
I don't remember, honestly.
I think one of them was probably a witch.
Yeah.
I think what happened basically was you have Rebecca, which was the one that was wheelchair bound, and then Rachel. And I think pretty much Rebecca, I don't know if she was like a witch already or it was just the house that kind of made her a witch, but they gave her legs. They made her, you know, they basically killed off her, you know, wheelchair-ridden body and then just made her like a witch. And then she like...
Oh, so it's a cycle. Yeah, okay. It's a cycle. Like the house was all, yeah, I agree. I think the house was always evil.
She was originally a witch. I think she just, the house got to her and she was just like, I want to walk again. Like, I want to, you know, I hate my sister probably. I don't know.
Maybe the house was always, the apparition always existed on that land. And I like how he doesn't explicitly tell you where it comes from, but the apparition wasn't able to leave the house because Rebecca was in a wheelchair. But then when Rebecca became like, when they unleashed her spirit by making the house more relevant, by talking about it and bringing it into the public consciousness, thus, you know, making the apparition more powerful, that they were able to then, she was able to then have the power to possess more, and the cycle continued, and then more was able to leave. Sorry, Savannah, I think you were going to say something.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just going to say, I thought it was so interesting how it was like when people talked about the house and gave it attention and gained more power, because I feel like that's kind of relevant. I don't know if you guys believe in like paranormal stuff, but I do. And like, I feel like if people go out seeking paranormal stuff, like stuff happens, or it's
kind of like manifestation.
Yeah.
So if enough people believe it or think it, then they believe or think it into reality. I love that concept and I love that idea.
I don't know.
It just seemed really realistic.
I
really like that.
I don't know if this like really makes sense, but like the sisters aspect of it kind of made it less scary for me, because I feel like when I know too much, it's less scary. And I feel like if the house was just creepy and haunted and there was all these weird things happening, it would have been creepier than like knowing this whole backstory about the sisters. I was like, okay, they're sisters and obviously they're haunting the house. Like I wasn't really scared by that. I really like the downfall of Daniel, but like I feel like you could have done that without the sisters. And like even the part where Moore is like drawn, it could have just been a random like woman, and I feel like that would have been scarier than knowing it's like these two sisters. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like if it's like haunted and I know too much, then I'm just like not, if it's like specific ghosts, I'm like, okay, well, that's it. Like I'm not, it's when it's more unknown, that's when it's scarier to me. So like knowing too much, like all that stuff about them, I was like, okay, like I'm not really that scared or creeped out anymore because I know all this stuff.
Right. I think knowing, but then also like you kind of don't know exactly how it works. Like you said, like is she a witch or is like it the house? Like no, I really liked that whole like the whole beginning where we get like the backstory on the house, like the history of that, like part of I do not know how to pronounce is it odd dude.
Adadel.
Adadel? Is that how you pronounce it? Okay. His part of his book. Yeah, I've never even heard it like being
Phantoms of the Prairie. Phantoms of the Prairie.
But when we get that whole section of like his book and like the history of the house, I don't know. I really like that part.
It reminded me of Salem's Lot, how Stephen King does that, where he was like talking about the house and he was giving the story and how it was like haunted through many generations. So I liked it too, actually.
Yeah.
Was Salem's Lot, I think, like, was that like your first video?
If we had gotten like, you know how like the original man who built the house, how his lover was hanged on the tree and stuff. Like, I wish they would have somehow like connected that to the Finch sisters. Like, was she a witch, or did the house possess her and then possess? Like, how did that connection?
Oh, wasn't he like? Didn't he like have a wife who was like black, and like they had like there was like a hate crime that took place?
Yes.
Okay. Did you guys watch I have a theory. I have a conspiracy theory.
That was ever okay.
Yeah, I have a conspiracy theory that connects them. Did you guys ever watch The Grudge, or do you know about The Grudge?
Yes.
That film series, that Japanese, the Ju-on, whatever. So in The Grudge, the whole point is that if you are killed in a state of rage, your anger and ghost lingers. So I think that when she was killed and strung up on the tree, and when that killing happened, like that state of rage was what triggered the eventual beginning of what
the entity
the entity in the house,
right.
And like that was specifically evident to me upon retrospect when towards the end Sam was like hung up by those vines. Like maybe the entity like wasn't just in the house, but like with the vicinity as a whole. And I think the rage was maybe that woman, because when she was hung, perhaps like that rage also transpired like in the nature around, like, which is why the vines were coming to life. So that's what I think. And he didn't spell it out too much, but when I was reminded of The Grudge. Yeah,
that a little more now that we're talking about it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm a little disappointed that he didn't. Like, I don't know.
And going back to what you said, Raine, like I like when they went into the history, but like I wish, like towards the end when it started to really like explode at the end, I wish it was more like focusing on why the house was like possessing and causing all this rather than the Finch sisters. Like I feel like the sisters were kind of like the fallback of why all of it was happening, and I wish it was more of the house itself than the sisters, if that makes sense. Like I just didn't really like I liked how they were part of the story, but I didn't like how they were kind of like the reason for everything. Like how the person like Monster House. Yeah, I wish it was more of like the house itself,
like Monster House.
Maybe the house was like a MacGuffin. Maybe. Well, I'm not gonna get into that, but like maybe there was maybe there was. I'll tell you what I'll tell you what I was thinking later when we're off the live. But maybe magic existed before the Finch sisters. And did you watch the Skeleton Key with Kate? With who's the actor? The actress in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Kate Hudson. So Kate Hudson did this movie called The Skeleton Key, which is very eerily similar, but it deals with some aspects that would be problematic today. But what I'm trying to hint at, and I'm going to hint at this, is that maybe someone was practicing magic before the Finch sisters got there, a certain kind of magic, and when they were killed, their body possessed one of the Finch sisters, and that was what triggered the cycle of possession.
That's the sucky thing, is that you have to kind of just assume. And, I don't know. Now I'm kind of...
Yeah, it just kind of felt like they...
I don't know. Now I want to change my rating to 3.5. To be honest, just because of that point, because I'm like, okay, so we got the Finch sisters. Okay, they're, whatever. They're... Well, I mean, it's the one, right? It's not them.
Yeah.
It was just Rebecca.
It just felt like the sisters were like, they were like a cop out to me, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like there was so much potential in the house itself and like all of the stuff that McKay's talking about, and then they just decided to go and blame it all on the sister. And I was like, I feel like there could have been so much more here.
So what about, you know, everything that happened before? Like, why even mention the guy that built the house and everything that happened beforehand?
Like, he built potential for nothing.
They never really gave a connection.
Okay, I'll give more context.
Now.
I'll give more context, and I apologize to anyone if anyone finds this problematic or anything. I don't mean to be insensitive, but I'm going to describe an aspect of the film, The Skeleton Key. So The Skeleton Key is about these. So you know how the main guy, the one who built the house, had like a wife who was an African American wife, right? And in The Skeleton Key, there is an aspect that deals with voodoo, which was something that was practiced by them. And I suspected that like this was like in The Skeleton Key, like perhaps the wife, African American wife, was practicing voodoo, and which has demonic possession, because that's what happens in The Skeleton Key as well. And perhaps since Rebecca, the one in the wheelchair, was, you know, desiring to walk, perhaps she struck a deal with the ghost of the dead, the dead spirit of that woman who was practicing voodoo.
Is The Good House by Banana Reed too, because that is like that book.
Yeah,
so, like, all those points are talked about.
Which book?
The Good House
by Tanara. Mm-hmm.
Does it deal with voodoo?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But it deals with it just deals with everything. And the house itself, there is a deity. Well, I mean, I guess that has a lot to do with other things, but
so like my theory
touches on these things. So it's like, yeah, okay, well, if you think about it, it could be that way. But the fact that the author didn't even try
to do anything.
I didn't think of any of these points on my own.
No.
So now I'm thinking about it. That's why I'm like, I don't know if I like it as much. Just because of that, because the more I think about it, I didn't like it, and just relating it to the very beginning.
Yeah.
But maybe because maybe he did that on purpose for the purpose of discussion.
Any type of
defending a book I gave 3 stars to.
But the thing is, right, like some of the books that I've read before that like don't really explain things, like it kind of like leaves it open for you to think about it. But I feel like in this book, like it didn't even leave me room to start like pondering about it, if that makes sense. Like I was just like, okay, it was the sisters, that was it. But like I feel like in some other books, like it really like kind of leads you in that direction, and I didn't feel like this book did that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something that I found weird, and I don't know if this stood out to you guys, was when Daniel first saw his daughter. Was her name Claire?
Yes.
Yeah, her name was Claire.
Did you guys catch him mentioning her body weirdly?
Yes.
That made me so mad. Like I was driving and I like looked at my husband. I was like, I swear male authors always do this. And I got really mad because it seemed really weird and unnecessary.
I don't remember. Can you explain the scene a bit more? Like I don't remember this part.
He was just, I can't remember where he was. He was at the house and he
said her like,
yeah,
she had, like her curves or her budding body or
like
something like that.
Yeah, I saw my daughter and her like budding curves, and she looked, and I was like, that's just so inappropriate.
Weird for a dad to describe his daughter.
It was almost as if I was wondering if he was implying that he was kind of in love with his daughter, or like he had
my gosh. Ow, I don't
know.
Like, this is getting real weird with it. We're just gonna
it was like it was such a weird thing to say, and like the way he was so just like taken by seeing his daughter again, like it was like weird to me. It kind of creeped me out, but I was wondering if you guys felt that way.
I did not get that at all. But
I
honestly,
read that.
Maybe that would have been good for the story if he
read that.
leaned into that a bit more.
Weird too that he said like, her budding curves.
I hated that. It made me so mad.
Ew.
Oh my gosh.
As soon as I read that part, so it's funny that you would mention that because I thought the same thing.
Like when I listen to audiobooks,
off, like, and you know, and Moore was described a lot too, pretty sexually, and that's where I'm kind of sad the character was.
Yeah, but that made sense because like Moore was someone who dressed in a way to sensually entice men into, you know, like that was like a whole like that was like her whole thing, like, you know, her cleavage and her tight jeans, and like it's obvious that, you know, like she was trying to make a statement with the way she presented herself in such a way, because it was an extension of her books, and her books were sensual also. So that made sense to me, because, you know, her books were as overt, so she would, it made sense that like she would present herself as overtly as her genre, as her niche. But describing the daughter makes a lot less sense.
It was very unnecessary, and just kind of like, why as an author would you think this? Like, and unless you're going to elaborate on it and like have this weird, like, gross relationship talked about, like, it was just very odd to me. And I think at one point he was like, it was always all about Claire or something like that. And it was just like, are you like obsessed with your daughter in like a weird way? Like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I didn't get any of this. That's so crazy.
I didn't catch that, but I did think that he was kind of obsessed with her in a weird way. Like, obviously when your child dies, that's going to be very traumatic, but like, he seemed like a little, like, I don't know, like, everybody's grief is different, but like, I feel like he was very much like, all that matters now is Claire, even though that is it. My wife don't matter, nothing else matters. Claire is the only thing that matters. And I was like, that's a little weird, suspicious to me.
I get it, because like the grief of a child pulls people apart, unfortunately, a lot of times. But at the same time, I just felt like when he saw his daughter again, it was just very oddly done. I don't know.
Yeah. I thought that description was really weird.
I'm glad you know it, because I was like, what the heck?
That is so interesting, because I didn't get any of that. Like, I was just like, maybe this is a man who is in the throes of grief and whose emotions are very heightened because of, you know, something super traumatizing. And, you know, because when you're an author, you have to, or when you're in the arts in general, you have to be very attuned with emotions. Like, you can't be blank, and you need to be able to feel things and able to describe them based on what I know, you know, when I listen to interviews of authors. So I just thought that, you know, he was a very sensitive man, and he was going through the emotions, you know, going through the grief. Like, I didn't get that, but like, now that you mention it, like, and I'm thinking back, like, yikes. I mean, like, that does add another layer of, had Scott Thomas like leaned into that a bit more, it would have definitely added another creepy layer that would have made sense as to why he would consent to killing everybody else in that house, I guess.
Because it made more sense to me if he was like had that weird relationship with his daughter.
Like, he was already
but I don't know, it was very open-ended, and I wish he would have gone more into it and clarified.
I feel like there was just like a lot of stuff in here that like he kind of like put like one thing in so like people might catch it, but then like it wasn't enough to make you really think about it and feel satisfied in thinking about it. It was like, okay, like, but I want more about this, even if it's not like a ton more. I just feel like he put like so many like little things, and it wasn't really enough to add up to anything significant. And yeah, I feel like there was, especially for like being like what, like 400 pages, I feel like there was so much that could have been done with 400 pages that just wasn't done.
Yeah, and like another thing is that when I think back, and when I think back at the story as a whole and everything that happened in the book, if someone were to ask me what my favorite part was, I don't think I have a favorite part. Like, it just felt very flat. Like, I don't have a significant part that really stood out to me. Like, even with the ending, which was like all big and all over, which the ending, which was like really big and the bombastic, like, not even that was one that connected with me in any way, shape, or form. Like, with Pet Sematary, you know, I can give you a favorite part. With No Exit, I can give you like one of my favorite parts. But with this, it's just like, it was a very monotonous experience, despite the spikes in excitement and not excitement, you know? So I don't know.
Right.
How do you guys feel?
I think besides that, that whole creepy spider part, which got me pretty good, which is funny that Savannah brought that one up. But also, I feel like his death scene was pretty gnarly. Like,
I was driving, and I was like, I can't think about this too much. Like, I can't visualize it too much because I was driving in the dark. It was really graphic. Like, it got me. And I can read graphic stuff. And about it. Like, ooh, like,
I was more grossed out by Sam getting sliced on the collarbone with the axe. Like that was like
I
more
Raine, like getting hit in the face, like the teeth. I was like, oh, like that is much.
No, because like that would like take you out instantly. Like the collarbone, like if you break this, can you imagine like having a broken bone like, over here, like with the axe like embedded?
Sometimes it's not always like rational for me. It's just like what grosses me out because I don't have any of you guys seen The Killing of the Sacred Deer?
Yes, I have. With Nicole Kidman and Colin.
Yeah, the opening scene is this like surgery being performed, and like medical stuff like bothers me so much, which is not logical because medical stuff is not gross, but to me it bothers me. So yeah, for me it's that scene somehow just got to me, even though what you're saying, it makes sense that like
you should watch Saw 3. There's a surgery scene there that I loved.
No, I should not watch that.
I love it.
I don't know if you guys remember the scene where they were talking about how their books were becoming similar and how they were getting stuck through smashing through the wall. And when they were talking about more scene of like when they started smashing through the wall, I don't know if you guys remember that, but for some reason that really stuck in my head because it was really like I've never really read something like that was horror and sexual at the same time because I haven't read that much horror. And that scene to me was like super like just sexual and horrific at the same time.
Yeah.
So it really like, stuck with me like in my head. I feel like that's the scene I most vividly remember. And I was like, because it just shocked me. I was just laying in my bed, just chilling, listening to the audiobook. And I was like, oh, okay.
You broke up what scene specifically? Which part of the book?
The scene where they're talking about how they're getting stuck while writing their books about smashing through the wall. And the scene where she's talking about like her with like leading up to smashing through the wall.
That was so weird.
And I was like, okay. I liked it though, in a weird way.
There's definitely a lot of triggers in this. I don't know, maybe I'm desensitized because I've read some pretty graphic horror.
What is the most graphic horror book you've ever read? I have an answer for this, but I want to hear yours first.
Oh, The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum.
Oh, but that's based on a true story.
Ooh, isn't that where they like torture the kids in the basement or something?
No, one kid, and it's real. Like that really happened to her. Like if her name is Sylvia Likens, if you Google her and read her Wikipedia page, I could not sleep that night. Like when I was reading what happened to the real story, it was just like
that is the most disturbing book that I've ever read. And I don't think anything will ever beat that.
Did you watch the movie?
No.
There's a movie.
There is a movie. So when I was researching this case,
I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could like.
I saw it on this YouTube channel called Bailey Sari, and that Deja and I both really like a lot, and that motivated me to like Google the case more, and then I found out there was a movie, and like not only. Like, I thought that this was going to be some indie movie that was made, like, with a $300 budget or something. It's a big movie. Like, the actors in this movie are big. James Franco, Elliot Page, now known as Elliot Page, Evan Peters. Like, you'll be shocked at how big some of these actors are. Wow. And this was, like, released in Sundance Film Festival. Like, and even when I watched the movie, like, it did look like it had money put into it. Like, I was, like, shocked that they were able to get away with making a movie this gross. And Elliot Page, oh my gosh, when back then they looked really, really young, like despite being an adult, like really sold that role brilliantly. And it was the movie was a lot. They were able to, it wasn't anywhere near as close as, what really happened, but like even what they were able to get away with was just like, I couldn't believe that it existed. Yeah.
No, for sure. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of, and what's sad is there are a lot of similar cases to that where things like that have happened and gone unnoticed for so long. And that's fascinating to me.
Yeah, the most disturbing book I've ever read is a book called Cows by Matthew Stokoe. It is a book that he is Australian. He is in his 70s. He has gone very unnoticed. And I honestly want to do like a whole video on that book alone. But I feel like it's going to get flagged. Like, this is like a book that T.C. Moore would think was the best thing since sliced bread. Wow. It has everything. It has literally everything. I can't even describe it on this live.
There's some movies like that where you're just like, oh.
No, I've seen all those. I've seen like every single graphic movie you can think of. But this book was a lot. It had a lot. Yeah. Like, oof. And it's really short. Like, I'm pretty sure you could get through it in like 4 hours, but I don't really recommend it because I don't want to think, I wouldn't recommend it to people I'm not close with because they're going to think I'm crazy. So yeah.
I will probably check it out.
You should. I have a review of it on my Bookstagram, and on my opening line I put, "This book would make the Marquis de Sade blush." For those of you who don't know, he was a man who existed in the French Revolution, and his name is where they got the word sadism. Sadism.
Oh my god.
He invented it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough. I'll just have to
be rough. Yeah.
I haven't read that many disturbing books yet.
Yeah, same.
But something about, and I'm sure my answer for this will change after I've read more disturbing books. But I read Misery, and the amputation scene just like got to me. Like the way he described it just got to me.
I think like the weapon they used was different. Like in one of them, in the book, I think in the book and the movie, like one used a hammer, the other used an axe. I can't remember which one was in the book.
So in the book, they actually cut off his foot, like literally.
Yeah, I read the book, but I forgot that.
Yeah, and that scene, how he was like describing how his foot looked and how his toes were still moving, I was like,
oh my god!
Like it's Stephen King's Winter.
No,
that so sounds gnarly.
You have to reread that scene. I almost like threw up.
I should. I love the ending. I love the ending when he's like shoving the paper in her mouth and he's like calling her all those names.
Oh my god,
that was the most satisfying revenge ever. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wait, and sorry, I'm like spoiling it for anybody. I probably shouldn't say more, but. There's some other scenes in it that are really graphic.
I love when he puts like the toenails on the birthday cake.
The horror books that I've got you to read, have they disturbed you, or is this one?
No, this wasn't even that like disturbing. I feel like I don't like books don't disturb me that easily, but I feel like I haven't read that many disturbing ones. I think the one that kind of bothered me the most probably was The Butterfly Garden, which I think is more of a thriller than a horror. But I think that one, like it creeped me out in a different way. Like it was just like the fact that humans would do things like that. Like it wasn't like gory. Like gory things don't really bother me. Like I like them. So yeah, I feel like that one though, it just kind of like messes with my head a little bit, but still I was like fine. Like I was chilling. I read it.
You want to read a book about sorry. You want to read a book about the nasty things humans do? Read Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. And
honey, I'm going to read Karen Slaughter.
You want to go most disturbing? That's
5 stars. Automatic 5 stars. Her writing is
rough.
Oh, have you read it, Savannah?
Huh?
Have you read it? Have you read that?
Oh my gosh, I have. It's what got me back into reading.
It was so. Okay. I couldn't believe my eyes.
I'm gonna do a reading vlog on it.
It's so
good.
Wait, hold on. Because
please read it like tomorrow.
Okay, because for like January, I kind of want to dedicate the month to reading like more thrillers specifically.
Ooh,
so I might read it then, especially because Winterween is happening. So I might see if I can squeeze it into a Winterween and then do it in like a blog.
You have.
This is the one with Gabby and Olivia again.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's exciting, and that's in January, right?
Yeah.
I think it's
okay. I don't need to stress this month because like this month I want to read the Goodreads choice winners. Like I really want to read that the new Paolini one, the To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, because the cover is just gorgeous.
To Sleep in a Sea of Stars.
But it's 800 pages and it's sci-fi.
Ooh.
It's
wait.
It's 800 pages and it's sci-fi. And I think there's like good representation. Like the main character is like a Latina woman. I could be mixing this up with something else, but like it does sound very good. And I want to get to that at some point.
I own
that one.
I own The Good Daughter physically, but I have Pretty Girls on audiobook.
Ooh, I liked Pretty Girls way better.
I liked the audiobook for that. So
okay, well, one of the prompts for Winterween is read a book with blue on the cover, and like the whole cover is kind of blue. So
yeah. The whole cover is like blue with with like one necklace or something, I think.
Yeah, it's like blue, green, and then with the necklace.
Have you guys read The Good Daughter? Any of you else?
I
Yes.
haven't, like, it's the only Karen
I
Slaughter.
didn't like it
yeah.
as much. I think I gave it 3 or 3.5 stars. I didn't love it as much as Pretty Girls.
It was heart-wrenching. Like,
it was really hard. Like, the beginning was really solid.
oh, the beginning was like the most.
No spoilers, guys. No spoilers.
Okay, no
No,
spoiler. This is not a spoiler.
in the middle.
But I've never read a more intense opening. Like,
Oh yeah,
like it was insane.
I think I read
Like
the
more
first
insane
page
than the
of
chapters
that.
of the dad.
Of the what?
Sorry, Deja?
Oh, I was saying I think I read the first page or 2 of The Good Daughter, and I was like, I don't think I'm in the right mindset for this. But I think it was like 2 years ago or something.
Ooh, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm kind of curious. No, in Pretty Girls, like the chapters of the dad, like was it more intense than those?
Yeah, I think.
Oh my god.
I think so. I don't know. What do you think, Raine?
I don't know. I think Pretty Girls just altogether was way more intense than The Good Daughter. That opening scene is really rough, but it's Pretty Girls all around. Just ugh.
What other disturbing books can you recommend? Have you read The Troop, Savannah?
No,
if you want to get into body horror, that's pretty bad.
I forget that I
read body horror, but yeah, I should read it. I know it's really good.
I honestly,
it's definitely going to be in my top 10 this year for sure. That book was phenomenal.
Yeah,
I really forgot that I read that. Like, I was thinking, like, what disturbing books that I read, and that did not pop into my head at all.
Team Shelley.
Oh, not Team Shelley.
Yes, Team Shelley. Team Shelley.
I mean, honestly,
Savannah,
Shelley is what made
when you read The Troop, Savannah, know that Shelley is my favorite character, and yeah, just know that.
Without Shelley, that book would be nothing.
That is it. I like Shelley.
Have you guys seen Midsummer?
Yeah, with Ari Aster, with Florence Pugh, and
I watched that. I think on Halloween. Actually,
I saw that movie in theaters. I saw it on the big screen.
Wasn't that insane? Like that whole wow.
Okay.
You know, I watched this video on. Wait, hold on. Sorry to cut you off, Deja. I watched this video on an analysis on Midsummer, and it was basically breaking down how that movie essentially indoctrinates you like how a cult would.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you super.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's totally fine. It makes you super disturbed at the beginning, but then you get love bombed, and that's kind of how cults work. Like they find people who are deliberately like really depressed, and then they love bomb them. And like when you are love bombed by a cult, you want to join them, and then they threaten that they could kick you out. So like with that movie, like the way Danny's character, the Florence Pugh character, is like treated, like, and by extension, us, the audience, makes us like. Which is why in the end we're like really happy for what happens to her, because we were like gaslit in a way by the whole experience of watching that. And that's just it.
I feel like there's so many like horror and thriller movies like I want to watch, but like I never sit down and think like let me watch a movie. And that's like always the issue. I'm always like let me watch Netflix and watch a TV show. I'm never like let me watch a movie.
Right.
Which I feel like
I've been getting in the mood for some movies lately, so I think like I've recently last month I started watching the new, they were like the Netflix Prime horror films that came out. Like I watched 2 of them. I watched The Lie and I watched The Eye, and they were both pretty good. But they're like I think it's like called Black Box or something. The new Black Box horrors. There's like 4 of them, and then like I guess in the beginning of the year they're supposed to come out with 4 more. But I wanted to watch them all. We never really got to the end of the book. We should probably
a
little bit, and then we can talk about what we have going on soon and all of that. But I was pleasantly surprised by the end. I liked it, and even though I wasn't even expecting it, which is funny because usually I can like call out the endings pretty easily, and I wasn't even thinking about it.
Yeah, I like the ending a lot.
It was really intense for me.
I mean, I didn't love the ending per se, but I was I loved that he saw the story out to its logical conclusion. Like with all the seeds he was planting throughout the book, it only made sense to have an ending that was big and explosive because of all the time he was holding a lot back, and at the end he goes for you full force. But that didn't really impact me because I wasn't too connected to any of the characters. So when things were happening to them, it was just, a standard body count. But I did like that he chose to go big instead of choosing to like hold back. So that's my thing on the ending. But yeah,
I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it too.
Elizabeth liked the eye as well. I thought it was pretty good. The lie was like, that was like pretty mind blowing.
I got
The
it.
Lie. I think I heard of that. Was that who's the main actors in that one?
Oh, I don't know.
Was that the one with Joey King?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I think The Lie film.
Girl who basically she murders her best friend and then
Right, the one with
Yes, it's with Joey King. I was thinking of the correct one. It's on Amazon Prime Video.
I need to watch some horror movies because I've seen so many and I feel like I've run out of good ones, but I know there's other good ones.
Have you watched Sinister? That one's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love Ethan
I
Hawke.
haven't documented everything I've watched.
I actually like
Chandler Morrison is disturbing, and I read horror, and I was just so sick. If anyone's interested, I have not read Dead Inside.
Oh my gosh! Okay, Deja and I were on this live show reviewing this book called Survivor Song, and on it was this was a fellow booktuber named Marcy, who's like an avid horror book reader,
Yes,
and
Marcy's
she mentioned Marcy. I love her, and she mentioned Dead Inside, and she said that book was like truly sick. So I want to check it out. I don't know why I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do want to.
I should have asked Marcy for.
Okay, let me open it up.
Marcy's the best if you want any recommendations on horror, that's for sure.
I kind of want to do a live show talking about horror movies with people.
Yeah, why not?
I love horror movies. I watch whenever there's a new one, I do my best to watch it. But there's only one horror movie in existence that's actually truly scared me to the point that I couldn't sleep without a nightlight. And that's called The Vanishing. Have any of you heard of that?
No.
So let me Google. I think it came out in the 90s. The Vanishing. It came out in 1988. And it is a movie about this couple who are in a gas station. And out of nowhere, the girlfriend goes completely missing. And the boyfriend spends the next few years trying to track her down because the killer is contacting him through mysterious letters and sending him stuff in the mail. And this movie I don't think it counts as horror per se. I don't even think it counts as thriller per se. It is so tame that it could probably get away with a PG-13 rating. And there's no gore, there's no swearing, there's no jump scares, none of that sort. But the ending is so calculatedly sadistic and appalling that I just freaked me out and made me lose all trust in humanity. And I could not sleep without a nightlight because of that movie alone. And that ending coupled with everything we see beforehand just freaked me out so bad. And I watch all the horror movies, all the graphic horror, a Serbian film and Inside and Cannibal Holocaust. I've seen all of those movies, but this one was the one
to talk to is Cup of Jay. She's here on YouTube. I did a horror live show with her and a bunch of other girls, and we did talk about some horror movies and stuff. But she's a great one to check out for recommendations on horror films and stuff. She does some really great analysis on horror films. She has me I have a whole list of movies to watch.
Ooh. And one more trivia. The director of The Vanishing, I think I can't confirm or deny this, but I've heard that he himself was so disturbed and horrified by the ending that he made in that movie that he did a remake. There was a remake of The Vanishing, and he directed his own remake just to change the ending. So yeah, I swear that movie just ruined me.
Now I need to find out where I can watch it. Probably on Shudder.
What are the scariest movies you've seen?
That's the scariest movie I've ever seen. Nothing else has gotten to me that much.
What about you,
No,
Raine?
not a lot scares me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, off the top of my head, I don't know.
I don't get scared that easily. But then also, I always have like, I like horror movies. They're like my favorite type of movies. But again, like I don't really think of like, let me sit down and watch a movie. So in every October, I always have a plan where I'm like, I'm gonna watch all these horror movies, and then school's like, just kidding. You have no free time to do anything besides sleep. So that's what happens. That's happened like the last 3 Octobers. Like every single time, I'm always like, I'm gonna watch like 15 horror movies, and like it just never happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get very scared anymore, but I do remember when I was in high school getting scared at The Conjuring.
Oh my God, this girl, Elizabeth Gonzalez, High Tension. I love that movie. Elizabeth,
High Tension is a French film.
Elizabeth, if you can hear me, High Tension and Intensity. I don't
Elizabeth
know how
has
Intensity is
some
like
really
not a
great
remake.
recommendations.
So High Tension, you read Intensity by Dean Koontz, right? Raine?
I haven't. I have it though.
Intensity, High Tension is like a straight up remake of Intensity. Like Dean Koontz even went on the record to be like, I think I was plagiarized.
So should I read it or should I watch it?
Yeah, I can read that book.
It depends what version of the story you want to
Okay,
consume
sure.
because they're pretty much the same freaking thing.
Really?
But Dean Koontz, and if you look at this on Wikipedia, Dean Koontz was like, the only reason I didn't sue the makers of this movie is because it was so disgusting and appalling and I didn't want to be associated with it. But when I was, okay, oh my God. So I love Intensity, right? I read that. And back before the pandemic, I was watching High Tension on a date. I was like, okay, let's watch this. And like with my bae. And during the movie, like 20 minutes, and I was like, I think I've seen this story before. Like, I've totally seen this story before. And then like I looked up on Wikipedia and it was right there. Dean Koontz was like, something plagiarized. Yeah. But I'm glad you brought that up. And she says, Elizabeth says, yes, it's the best. There's a plot twist. Yeah, there's a plot twist. I will give you that early on.
Okay, well, I'm totally gonna watch that. All right, so I'm gonna wrap this up since I think we're done talking about the book for the most part. Did anybody change their ratings like me? I think I might give it 3.5 now.
Me too.
So we have 3.5 and Deja, what's yours?
I think 3.5 too.
3.3, 3.5, and Savannah, yours?
I don't know. I'm torn between a 3.5 and a 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of similar. Now I'm kind of like, ooh, should I give it a 3.5? I don't know.
So I think general, I mean, based on everything we said, I think we all can assume that our rating was above average, at least. Yeah.
It was good. I just don't think I loved it as much after discussing it some more because I do think there's some things that he could have touched on a little more than that he kind of, he kind of messed up there. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
A lot of people gave it 5 stars.
Yeah,
I know. Even Gabby from Gabby Reads, who's like, her standards are quite high. Like, I wish, like, I didn't really see, like, she did a vlog on this, and like, she didn't really talk about why she loved it so much. So I'm like really curious why the people who gave it 5 stars, like, what did they connect with? What did they identify with? Like, why does it speak to them so much? I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I definitely think I was a little overhyped for it. Because when it came down to it, it was a little lackluster. But, I mean, it was still great. I would still recommend it, for sure.
I would recommend it to horror fans, for sure. Sorry, Savannah, to cut you off.
Oh, you're good. I just think people really like the unique aspect of it being centered around writers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was something, because I'm looking at Goodreads right now, and a lot of people are saying they really like how it was horror writers, and you kind of got a new perspective instead of just like the story happening. So,
for sure. Like I told you guys before, it's definitely like an ode to horror writers because it talks a lot about the writing process and what horror means to a horror author.
Because like, but if you think about it, like if you take away like the horror author aspect of the story, you just put some random people in there, you'd kind of be like, oh, like it was just a haunted house story. Like I feel like it would be just like whatever. And I think that the horror author aspect really saved it.
Mm-hmm. I think my most recent read too kind of dampened it a little bit because I read Naomi's Room, and that's probably the best ghost story like that I've ever read. So reading that and having this to kind of compare it to, I was a little I'm like, oh, I didn't love it as much because Naomi's Room was just so good.
The book I read before this was also like almost a 5-star read. The last 2 books I read before this were 5-star reads.
Yeah. Naomi's Room is definitely 5 stars for me. So
it was 5-star, 5-star, and then this one just didn't do it for me. It was I read Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I loved, and then I read
4 stars, and I felt betrayed.
Huh? Sorry.
You gave it 4 stars.
I gave it 4 stars. Well,
that's what it said.
I think
that's what it said on Instagram, and I was shook because you were like, "I loved it," and I was like, "Well, why did you give it 4 stars?"
That must have been a typo. Oh my goodness.
No, I have to make sure I wasn't imagining things, but I remember reading that, and I was like,
"Go edit your post."
Oh my gosh, was this? Yeah, I did review it on Instagram. Yeah, I did. Okay, I think it was like a 4.5, but like it was one that I loved a lot. And then the one I read before that was a 5 stars, and that was The Secret History by Donna Tartt.
What is this?
Oh yeah, I should put like a 1.5. I should put like a 1.5 there.
If not The Secret History, oh my god, no.
I gave that book 5 stars, and I have a lot of thoughts. I haven't posted it. You DNF'd it. Oh my god.
I heard it's so depressing. It's not even worth it.
Oh my gosh, maybe I wonder what that says about me as a reader, because I gave it. I am in love with that book. I gave that book 5 stars. It was just. It was everything to me. I don't know.
Maybe I should try.
Oh, Kim, but thank you for doing this live show, McKay. I loved seeing you live.
Thank you. Well, thank you for calling me hilarious. Like, I'm on like 4 hours of sleep, caffeinated on cheesecake, so I'm glad that I was able to bring some joy to your life.
Your videos are always so funny. I love them.
Thank you. I feel like a goat on LSD. Like, I'm surprised anyone finds me funny. But yeah.
No, I love it. Do you guys have anything coming up on your channels or anything?
Yes, I have a lot. I have like 3 scripts written, but as you can see, to see this Band-Aid over here, I had the most giant pimple on the face, and I know I could have covered it up with concealer, but that would have led to more pimples, so I decided to just like let my face heal before getting back into filming videos. But I have 3 scripts up. I have the Christmas tag that Deja did. I have the Christmas tag that Savannah did. So both of your tags, I have scripts for those. And I have a 7-page script on The Secret History, which is going to be my next big long-form review. And I'm going to tell you about why I love that book so much.
Well, I'm going to watch it, even though I DNF'd it. I'm going to watch that and then probably not read it.
Yeah. I'm going to watch
it's not one that I don't, frankly, although I loved it, I don't know who I'd recommend it to. Like, Gabby didn't like it. Kat from Paperback Dreams gave it 2 stars, and they're really smart. Yeah. And Raine is really smart. She DNF'd it. Hey, come on, you're amazing.
Thank you.
But for me, I don't know. I mean, I know why I loved it so much, but I can't. As I said, it's a 7-page script, so I can't exactly condense all of that in one video, in one little soundbite over here. So just look forward to that, or don't. I don't know.
I'm looking forward to it. I would much rather watch your video than read the book. Yeah,
thank you.
Pretty much like skimmed to the rest, and I was like, nah, I'm okay with not finishing this.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what you have to say about it. You probably make me even want to read it. Who knows?
I don't know if I'll convince you to read it, because like I have very specific reasons as to why I loved it so much. But I don't know. Well, we shall see. See, we shall.
Yeah. You're not.
It's not a book.
There are a lot of people out there who love it. That's what got me to want to read it in the first place.
A lot of people love it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! Did you know the late night book club with Elias, Noel? I don't think any of them liked it. Like, I think the highest was like a hesitant 4 stars.
Really?
So like, I recognize that I am in the minority over here, and those guys are really, really smart. Like, I think they're graduate students. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe my video is gonna sound like a pretentious blowhard, but what can you do?
Most of mine are just like, I love it.
I don't think I'm very smart in the way I describe books, but I'm excited about
guys, stop downgrading yourself. You read books, and there are many people who don't, so that's just a +1.
True.
That is accurate.
People are always like, how do you read books? I'm like,
I know. And I
it's not that hard.
For days, this one guy and I were in an argument because he said that reading was boring, and I was like, or he said books are boring. And I swear I was in an argument with him about this for like 2 days. And I was like, books are not boring. You just don't like reading. Those are two very different things.
No, I haven't. I think I haven't.
Tell people I just say you haven't found the right book yet.
Yeah.
I have an interpretation for why people would think reading is boring.
Historical fiction, and you don't like historical fiction.
And I also think that reading is not necessarily for everybody.
Just because
I think that reading can be for everyone. It's just that in school they make you read. In schools they make you read boring books. So people's idea of reading is being forced to read something that they're not interested in. Like I was lucky to be put in a school that made me read interesting books in the 6th grade. Like we read The Giver, we read A Little Prince, we read The Diary of Anne Frank. Those were all really fun. But people there are people there are in the 5th grade that are meant to read like, wow, Frankenstein.
Oh my god, I read Frankenstein this year and I did not like it.
Now imagine not liking it and having your grade depend on that. That's why people don't like reading, because they think that they're forced.
But then also I think that like I've tried to but I've had some of my friends who don't like reading that much read books that they say are interesting. They just don't like reading. They don't like to think, apparently. They like to be force-fed everything through their eyes instead of actually like consuming the book. They literally like said that to me, basically, is that they just like to watch it because it's more mindless and like relaxing to them than having to actually concentrate.
Books can be mindless and relaxing.
That's true, but I don't know.
Like when
I get bored sometimes watching stuff, because it's like you can think while you're watching, whereas with reading you have to be more engaged. So it's better escapism for me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but like for me with my ADHD, like my mind goes like this all the time, and like I'll be reading, but I'm not consuming the words. Like I don't understand necessarily what they're saying. So like I get where other people are coming from, but like my mind, that's why I generally have to use audiobooks now when I'm physically reading, because I'm more of an auditory like learner than anything. So if I don't have audio, like my brain will go like, I'll start thinking about like what I have to do for school tomorrow and like my lunch and like all like this random other stuff. So like I understand.
For sure.
I see. Maybe do you think audiobooks would help them get more invested?
So I feel like let me listen to music and be cool. That's like literally all of them. They're like, what's audio? Like
I've recommended a lot of like full cast audiobooks to people and they ended up enjoying them. So basically listening to a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if full casts help, because I listened to the full cast audiobook of 6 of Crows, and that book did not do it for me. Like I'm in the minority. Like when I did my wrap up, I was like, when I did my wrap up that month, I was like full on. I was like, okay, I know I'm in the minority. This book was.
Have you guys read the guest list?
I love the guest list.
That was audiobook is so good.
I didn't read the audiobook. I read it with my eyes. Is the audiobook a full cast as well?
Yeah, it's so good. They all have accents.
That was the book that got me into BookTube.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah. Well, it was the book that I was reading that made me contemplate making a channel to talk about it. My first ever video, though, was a book review of The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, and that is privated because it's horrible.
I was going to read the guest list, and then
I'm reading The Goldfinch halfway through, and I still haven't picked it back up again.
Okay, I think Donna Tartt is like a very acquired taste. Like you have to be on the train. Like you have to like make a conscious decision. Do I want to be on this train and have a good time, or do I want to go off this train and have an even better time? And either one is more valid, I think.
And it wasn't even like it was bad. It was kind of like a put down for now type deal, but it was a put down for like a year. And I'm just like, I never picked it back up. So
yeah.
Well, I love the way she writes books. Like she rarely does interviews because she's very private. But when she does do an interview, rather, she said that it takes her 10 years to write a book because she writes it like she's painting a giant mural with an eyelash. So she like adds like one little paragraph a day. Like she really builds onto it. Like with every single interesting book she reads or every single interesting film she watches, she gets something, a nugget of ideas everywhere. And like whenever she walks around, she has a notebook with her. So like when she travels abroad and she sees a bench, she writes down how that bench is described, and it finds her way. Like her whole life experience makes their way into the book, which is why I take like people normally read books like quickly in one sitting. With her, I recommend reading it in like small doses. Like read it in like little small spurts to like truly taste and feel, because she's a very sensory writer.
Effort that she puts into it. It's just not the type of books that I like.
It's fine. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
Like
it's just not for me. The more I'm like, I just can't get behind books.
No, that's completely. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if I were to give a recommendation to anyone who's like watching our live right now, and if you want to read a Donna Tartt book, small doses. Like read it in like spurts. Like and don't be afraid to read other entire books like in the middle of that book. Like
they're not bingeable books.
They're not bingeable. Like I read 3 books in the middle of The Secret History. Like I did 200 pages, and then I would listen to another book or read another book, and then I did another 200. Like consume it in small doses is how to get through a Donna Tartt book, because like that's how she writes them. So they're certainly not bingeable in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely slower. Okay, anybody else have anything going on? Deja, you have anything going on?
I have an announcement video going up on Saturday. Well, I have to edit it, but it's going up on Saturday for a book club. Yeah, it's not really like thriller or horror, so most people probably won't be interested here, but it's still a book club. And then also, I'm hoping to have a lot of videos. Well, I was doing Bookmas, and then I failed after 3 days because like I use like this USB thing to put my memory card put it into my computer, and the one that I had just like stopped working, and I went to order another one from Best Buy, and they were like, okay, like we have it in store, we'll like give it to you, and like they said that it's not gonna be ready till Friday, even though they have it in the store. Or tomorrow, I guess, but that was like Tuesday night. So yeah, but I still have a lot of videos coming, hopefully, and then I want to continue it into January, hopefully, and then hopefully again my semester next my next semester hopefully is going to be lighter, because I will only be taking 1 AP class versus 3.
Awesome.
Yes. Ooh. I only have 1 day of classes left, and then it's break, so I'm excited.
Savannah,
I'm excited for you.
I'm doing over on Read by Andy's channel. We're going to talk about anxious people tomorrow. And
cool.
I'm still reading it, but it made me cry. Like page 99 made me cry, if you know what that page is. Like,
oh my gosh, don't spoil. I'm gonna read it now.
Have any of you guys read it?
No, I've never read a Frederick Bachman book before, but I want to.
Okay. Please.
Oh my gosh, the Man Called Uva.
Did you read that? Is it good?
Oh my gosh, that thing made me cry so much.
Please read this book. I never read contemporaries, and I love it. Like, I think it's going to be a 5-star.
Yeah,
The Man Called Uva, I believe it was like they made a movie and it was like nominated for best like foreign film at some point.
Yeah. I watched it. It was pretty good. It didn't.
But the book's better.
The book did. Oh yeah, the book's better.
I really want to read Bear.
Sob at the end.
I'm nervous.
Full on sobbing, like ugly cry. It was bad.
I really just want to read Beartown. It's on my PBR card, so like that means it's high priority right there.
Yeah.
But besides that, I think I want to put together a live show to talk about horror movies. So
sure.
Here is interested in it. Let me know.
Me.
Yay!
I would love that.
Yay! I would love it too. I think maybe sometime like mid-January.
Okay. Maybe I'll ask to join us because she has great recommendations.
Yes. I'm gonna reach out to a few more people, but if you all want to participate, that would be so fun.
Like I would, but like I haven't watched enough, so I'll just sit.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll just chill in the comments and get.
Just have your like notepad at the ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I don't really have much. I'll have a vlog out for Scary Little Christmas-A-Thon, which is what's going on right now. I mean, it's going to be a really crappy vlog because.
How's Kin going so far?
How's what?
Kin, the book.
Oh, Kin. Yeah. Yes. I'm only on chapter 3. So
do you have the book? Do you have like a physical copy of the book?
I'm reading the ebook.
Okay.
I'm really interested in that book. It looks
cool. I love Patrick
the
Burke.
author follows me on Instagram, and I've only read like 1 book of his so far.
Ooh, that's awesome.
That's so
I think
cool.
he follows everyone back, honestly. Like it was like
so
kind of shocking.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He's really, really nice. I I'm already really liking it. I'm sucked in. I'm only like 3 chapters in, but I'm going to read more tonight. Loved Naomi's Room that I just finished. That is like a new favorite book.
Is that also by Keelan Patrick Burke?
No, it's by Jason Acliff, something, Jonathan Acliff, something like that. I don't know, but it's like it's like a really creepy ghost story, and I cried 30 pages in, so it was It's really it's got some disturbing scenes in it too. It's pretty rough, but it's good. It's good. It's pretty creepy. Read it at nighttime if you really like it.
I will note that down.
I really, really like that. And I loved Ring Shout too, which I'm reading. I just finished for the readathon too. So I'm enjoying everything I'm reading, by the way.
Yay.
Yeah, it's really great. Love it.
I'm halfway through Mexican
like 10. So hopefully.
I'm halfway through Mexican Gothic, and I had to stop it to like get up to my reading schedule, and I'm still kind of behind on it.
It's okay. I gave it 3 stars.
Yeah,
I gave it 5 stars.
I've heard such mixed reviews. Some people are obsessed with it, and other people just are like, eh.
I understand why some people love it, but like I also gave it 3.5 stars.
Really?
Because like I enjoyed it, but like I'll if nobody brought it up to me again, I probably would never think about it. Like
I gave it 5 stars, but I was kind of shocked to see that it won like best horror book of the year for
oh my gosh, there were other books on that list that were better.
Yeah.
Did you guys
what else was on the list? Sorry?
Home Before Dark.
Home Before Dark. I loved Home Before Dark.
Home Before Dark was definitely better.
I did a whole video on Home Before Dark.
But
yeah, and like
I don't know if you guys read The Year of the Witching, and that's YA, and I really like that. But I feel like it's more dark fantasy than it is like horror. But like I think I like that one more than even Home Before Dark.
Not you reminding me that I have a 2-month-old vlog for that. I
know you said you read that. I love that book so much. Like the more I thought about it, the more I loved it. Because organized religion really scares me, and so like that's why that book kind of scared me, because it was like, I'm not gonna say cult like, because it's based off like Puritan society, so it's just like very extreme religious like ideals, and it's really controlling, and so like it me like that, because that's something that personally,
kind of like the movie The Witch, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
I didn't like that movie so much. I'm sorry, but I loved The Lighthouse, the one that he did afterward.
It was so weird.
I saw that movie at a film festival.
For which one?
The Lighthouse.
Are she talking about Mexican Gothic or The Year of the Witching?
I feel like she's talking about The Year of the Witching. Or she could be talking about Home Before Dark.
I feel like we're talking about different things. Like, one is talking about The Witch, the movie, The Lighthouse, The Year of the Witchling. And
we're just a mess.
The Witch is definitely like The Year of the Witching. I really like that book. And then also, The Southern Bookworm's Guide to Slaying Vampires was definitely better than Mexican Gothic, in my opinion.
I think I'm getting
I haven't read that one yet.
It's good.
I think my family's getting it for me, but I don't know. Because I told them I wanted it.
Like, I loved the guest list, but when I was looking at the other books that were nominated for thrillers that I had read, like The Devil in the Dark Water and Home Before Dark, I was like, the guest list isn't as good as those two. Like, sorry.
I know. We have like a live where we just talk. Because
honestly,
we're just talking about everything, but
they're all like horror-ish related, so it's fine.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah, I don't mean to cut everyone off, but
she was talking about Mexican Gothic. I thought she was talking about The Year of the Witching, and it hurt my heart for a second.
She was?
Yeah. It's
okay. Yes. The Year of the Witching was really good.
The Year of the Witching was so good.
Yeah. Mexican Gothic, it just didn't do it for me either.
It didn't hit. The twist, I was like, what? What do you mean? This is it? I was like, oh.
The twist was kind of semi-spoiled for me, but I don't know. Because I don't want to say it, and have a reaction. But
I mean, you put it in the private chat. If you wanted us to tell it, you put it in the private chat.
Oh, it's okay. I'll just let you guys know.
I'm gonna end this right now because I do have to eat dinner and stuff. And
Yeah.
Oh.
I have to go do stupid card things for school. So
Thank you guys for reading with us.
Yeah.
And this was fun. We'll have to do another book sometime soon, another horror book.
Yes, another horror book. I love reading horror books.
yes, please, because I need to read more. And like Stacks of Strange is the only thing making me read horror. So like I need more.
And I try not to pick horror every single month because I know some of the girls don't typically read horror. So I'm like, okay, let's switch it up and do something a little different. Yeah.
We should just keep the same chat and keep it going.
We'll try to pick something else that we all want to read.
Yeah.
We haven't read yet. All right. Thank you guys so much for following along and then watching this and all that. So
thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Everything's should be down below in the description box. So if you guys check any one of these booktubers out and check out our Instagrams and stuff, because we'll have information on like what other book we are going to read after this. So thank you guys and good night.
Later.